Hello, everybody. Welcome to No Doctor, Just Healthy. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm just going to go on and on and on and hear about some stuff. I, um, I came up here with a big idea in my mind. I forgot what it was, but stuff happens. But the, I go through these supplements, and I've taken all these. I eat this stuff, and I get a lot from my neighbors. I live in a senior apartment, and I tell you what, I'll talk to them sometimes about this stuff, and they say, "Oh, my doctor says this, my doctor says that," and I say, "Oh, that's interesting." And your doctor is getting paid by who to be there? And that's not fair, really, because some doctors are great. Like I have a doctor that I really enjoy. He's over at the VA office near me, and he is just tuned right in. I start talking about health, and he pulls a chair over. And I really like this guy. I always say he's kind of a newer doctor. I don't know, I don't know how many years he's been in the business, but or the profession or the practice or whatever they call it, but he still likes being a doctor. And he constantly surprises me about stuff. Like we were talking about cholesterol one day. He wanted to give me cholesterol medicine, statins. I said, no. He said, no? I said, no. And statins make me act like I have Parkinson's within a couple days of taking them. Just 2 or 3 doses, and I'm shaking and dropping stuff all over the kitchen, and which sometimes it's eggs and stuff, so you notice that. But really awful, and say no, I won't touch it. And then when I do research on cholesterol, I find out things like cholesterol uh, carries stuff all over your body to carry nutrients and vitamins and whatever it is that bodies have to do. It's all the necessary things all over your body. Cholesterol does that. And I can't say it's the only thing, but it does that. And cholesterol also protects most of your cells. Now you got to look this stuff up. You just ask the internet, uh, cholesterol benefits, you know, or cholesterol side effects. Just go ahead and punch in. You will start getting an insight on cholesterol that is totally different than what we've been taught. And one of the things is that I like this. I like this one. Let's say some Martians come through the atmosphere, and they're looking at this planet Earth. You know, they're checking us out big time. And they see these flashing lights. Alarms and danger signs. And they see all these things. And big red trucks sometimes circling a building that's on fire, or a bunch of black and white cars with flashing lights on the top, picking up people off of the highway after an accident or something. And they don't know what they're seeing. They don't know what they're seeing, and they think that all those flashing lights are danger. They're going around, knocking down houses and burning them and causing car accidents and hurting people and knocking people down on the road. That's the way they look at it. Well, that's not the way it is. Cholesterol shows up at damaged body parts because it's trying to help. It's trying to help the damaged body parts, just like all those sirens and all the flashing lights. They're there to help, and that's kind of a interesting twist. I think it's like when they have a clot. You know, it's often covered in cholesterol because cholesterol is trying to deliver all the things to the clot to get it out of there. Well, the problem isn't really the cholesterol. The problem is that the clot is getting under the skin, it's getting under the vein through the endothelium. It's like uh, if like you hear about people have hardening of arteries. Yeah, they're there. They're building clots, and I know somebody right now like that will not listen to it, and that's too bad. But um, that's something to look up. And I don't try to be a guru, sitting in here talking about this stuff. I'm trying to give you experience on things that I have found through the last 10 years. And before that, I didn't know much. But in the last 10 years, I went from being uh, close to dead. I mean, really, really failing and close to dead. And today I'm a healthy 78-year-old. I mean, I can run upstairs, and I ride my electric unicycle. I'm, and even though it doesn't sound like I'm real tuned in with my talking and stuff, I'm so much better. 8 years ago or something like that, I couldn't do a sentence. I couldn't say a whole sentence. And you can see it if you subscribe to my channel. There's a trick. Or if you subscribe to my channel, you get to see all my videos and you go back to the very beginning ones. I always have a black shirt, and I think I'm often in front of stained glass windows. That's at my library, and you'll see how I talk. And I, it's one word at a time, and it's just really rough. And it's just really rough, and I'm just trying to get through. Well, I took some. I took a supplement because all of a sudden I was in my apartment one day, and I didn't know where I was, and it was turning into panic. It was the middle of the night, and I was standing in the kitchen, and I didn't know where I was, and oh, I don't seem to have it in here, but it's magnesium L-threonate, and it's made by a company called Magteam, and Magteam has the patent on it on this mixture. They don't have the patent on magnesium, but they have the patent on the mixture. And the mixture moves magnesium to your brain, which makes your synapses connect. Electrically, you start firing, everything starts working. And uh, and with me, inside of the first bottle, I started getting um, evidence that it was working for me. And a lot of that had to do with like memory, but I still have a really hard, rough memory. But it's so much better. I can actually think of something and find it. And anyways, it's good to be here. And I was going to be talking about like overdosing on medicine, and by gosh, it sure. I don't mean to say medicine, even though I overdosed on lithium when I was in the hospital, being administered it by the nurse and the doctors, and I remember the part where they came in my room and I was hanging out of the bed in through the railing or something. I didn't make it to the floor, but I almost fell out of bed. But I didn't. I was overdosed. I didn't know what I was doing. And it just took over and did that. And I don't know what they did, but they took me off of it, and I was fine. Thank God, it was fine right after. Maybe that's got something to do with my brain trouble today. That overdose. But I didn't do anything wrong. Only thing I was like severely depressed, and that was all part of it. So, anyways, so stuff happens, and I see it. I was in the hospital a while ago. Almost forgot this. A couple months ago, I don't know how many months, 5 months ago probably, and I was in with a hard beating heart. My heart was going really fast, and they said, my doctor said, "Well, you better check yourself into the hospital." So I went right in. I said, "Okay, I'm dying." So my family all had. I mean, there's a lot of men in my family that have had heart attacks. But anyways, I went in there, and the first thing I remember was the nurse did my EEG. I think is the right letters for the test on my heart, and she said, "I don't even have to show this to the doctor. This is perfect. There's no question. This is exactly like it would look like coming out of a textbook. So I don't have this is we're not in the right area here." And my chest was my pulse was up. And okay, so they went on and they did their chemical test for hearts. I don't know the technical idea of that because I'm not a guru, but this is stuff for you to look up. You can look up, about heart rhythm or whatever, and just start learning about it. What the hell's the problem with learning about your body, your health? And I, I'm really good with it. Well, anyways, the lab tech from the blood draw came out. He came out. He said, "Excuse me." Yeah, he says, "Your blood chemistry is perfect." And I said, "Well, thank you." I said, "What does that mean?" He says, "I don't think you have any trouble with your heart, but that's not my job." He said that I'll turn this over to the doctor, and then he'll say what he says. But pretty pretty soon the doctor came by and he said, "I don't know what's going on with you." And I said, "Well, I feel like my heart slowed down." And he says, "Yeah, it has." And I says, "Maybe it's just a quirk." He says, "Yeah, because it's healthy, it's strong, it looks great. Actually, it looks very good, and I don't see any reason for you to worry about anything." And I thank you. I says, "I've heard that before, and I says, so anyways, I went home and I realized that I was probably overdosing on one of my supplements because I take some of our supplements are really important, like that magnesium. That's very important. Vitamin D, very important. And if you live up north, sometimes you have to take a supplement because you're just not in the sun enough. And I guess it's hard to get from food too. But if you're wondering about it, look it up because vitamin D is so much for our body. And I like to say sometimes, well, I think we might be solar powered because it comes from the sun. That's that's a lot of power for us, but it's stuff to really do. And talk. I'm trying to get people to realize that there's a way to think about health that isn't like, well, you're getting older. It's going to be hard to get out of a chair. Well, you don't have to get out of a chair and suffer. You just hop out. And I'm 78, right? And the only thing I'm having trouble with these days is my tummy. And the only reason I'm having fat storage trouble is because I've cheated this winter again. I ate too many carbohydrates. And soon as I eat some carbohydrates, it's turned the good fat in my body because I eat high fat food mostly. But if I add carbohydrates to them, it turns into body fat, not energy fat, but body fat. And that's something to look up. Sometimes I I started be in ketosis back in when I was doing the Atkins diet back in 1990. So I saw it work. It works great. It also works on my personality and stuff too. And I start feeling really human after a short time. I mean, a couple months on low carb, like a new person. And now somebody's shuffling their feet around. They can't get out of a chair. They don't want to do anything. They their house is a bigger mess than mine. Their stuff piled up. They just can't do it. It's just too hard. Everything's too hard. Ask them to do something different. If one thing doesn't work, try something else. Don't ask your doctor for speed. That is the idea. Your food will correct so much with you. And it's not the idea of just vegetables or just beef or just cow products or just cheese or just eating once a week or it's nothing to do. It's maybe that stuff all has something to do. Like I like to fast, so I often won't eat for 2 or 3 days. And maybe not even every month, but every once in a while, I just won't eat for 2 or 3 days. It's so good. Matter of fact, I should do it now, but I've already had a handful of blueberries and some yogurt this morning, and that is all that does is make me hungry. The yogurt is questionable. It's got a lot, it's got a few carbohydrates in it, and the blueberries are too. But the blueberries are such good health food for people. People don't understand how it is. So look it up. Side effects of blueberries, health of blueberries. Uh, it's way better than you think. But anyways, look it up. But anyways, I'm glad you're all here. I'm glad people have reached out to me and talked in my comments to me about stuff. Not much, but somebody, some there's some interest going on. But I know I need to be more organized. But you know what? If I write everything out, maybe just a hint, like a word or two, can work okay. But if I try to write a script, I sound like a robot and not an AI robot. I sound like a robot. I want to be here, and you know, it's just awful. So I can't do it. Um, Never have been big at that stuff. But anyway, I'm glad you're here, and I'm going to just send this video. Thank you.